Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world of craft beer on this particular week. It's a special week for craft beer. That's why I said week multiple times, but we'll get into that in a minute. First off, I am Brian Hewitt, and Tim is on assignment this week. So with me is the one and only, thank goodness, Mike Nate. Mike Nate, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Today was a little bit of a hot day, but we made it, and I've got a nice cold glass of beer in my glass, and I'm also saying glass twice. So, Brian Hewitt, how are you doing?
I'm good. I get to do some of my favorite things today. I got to sit in a dentist chair for over an hour and have my gums and teeth poked and prodded at. I like how my dentist tries to tell me that I have a small mouth, which I've never heard before. I think dude's just got big old bratwurst for fingers. Because
is that a compliment? I have a small mouth.
I don't know. I've only ever been told I have a loud mouth, or been called the mouth of the South occasionally, which I don't know about that, but I'll take it. But yeah, I'm not one for keeping quiet typically, but yeah, so that was fun. It's been a day. I've been in a lot of meetings, so this is just a continuation. I'm on camera again. I'm talking again. So it's just been I've been rolling the entire day.
There you go. But hey, you're the star of the show.
The great thing about this is, unlike the, Teams meetings and things like that, or, whatever streaming service you use, I've got beer. Like before I didn't have beer. Now I've got beer and I'm talking about beer, which is, it's going to be more fun. So, I do have an update. Tim did tell me that he was murdered in an arms deal gone wrong. But I think because he told me I don't know if I believe he's actually been murdered. But I do have a theory, though. It's because I didn't see him in person when he said it. He sent it to me over Discord. It's possible the murderer was just being polite and letting me know he wouldn't make it on account of having been murdered. And
honestly,
if that's
really
case,
considerate.
Yeah, thank you, murderer.
Thank you.
That's the nicest thing a murderer's ever done for me so far. So, yes, but we assume that he will be unmurdered next week. However, that works out. So, yeah. Let's get into some fun stuff here. Mike Nate, do you have opinions on MSG?
For the longest time, I was always told that it was bad for you, and then recently I started looking into it as an umami additive to drinks, and found out that it's really not that bad for you. So. I'm open to it.
Have you used it in cocktails before? It never occurred to me that could be a cocktail ingredient.
I haven't, but I did order some.
Oh, you did order some. Okay. I guess I had always thought I didn't have a strong opinion on it one way or the other. I'd always heard people talking about how sensitive they were to it, and how people get headaches when they have it, and them being very sure that particular Chinese place uses MSG because they always get headaches from there. I'm like, well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's getting cooked there. Maybe it's an oil or something like. I never knew. I never really had a strong opinion on it, but I didn't really seek it out. And then I started seeing, like, I don't know, the fried rice videos Mr. Roger does and all that. And I like some fried rice. I'm like, you know what? If it makes a good fried rice and I have it occasionally, I'm not opposed to the idea. But the reason I bring it up, and this is something I meant to bring up last week, but we didn't get to it, but there is a brewery in the UK that is adding MSG to a pale ale. And the reason for them doing it is to, quote unquote, stimulate your umami receptors. And a few people on social media were talking about it. And I happened to see that. And I was like, well, that's a really interesting concept. The brewery is Duration Brewing, and the beer is called Crisps, if you want to look it up. Crisps, like the British word for chips, basically. Yeah. So I think that's what it is. And it makes sense. MSG, the savory aspect of that. It makes sense that would be in a beer. And tying into the beer salt story we had, was it last week or the week before? I'm like, I guess it kind of makes sense.
So knowing that you've heard stories that it gives you potential to give headaches, would you try this?
I would try it, because I don't think that I personally have ever gotten headaches from any particular, and I've been to some very interesting places that I'm 100% sure they definitely used MSG. Never thought about it. I've never really had headaches. Sometimes the stomach bubbles a little bit. There's a little bit of that going on, but I don't think it's that. It could be a lot of different things. It could just be the sheer volume of oil that in some of the places. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I would do it. And in fact, I've thought about it. I'm like, I wonder if there's any MSG in the house here, like a for cooking. I have no idea. I don't do any of the cooking here, so maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And I still haven't used it. I've got some beer salt, but I'm like, maybe I should find like a Summerfest and just sprinkle a tiny little bit in there, like you add saline to a cocktail, and see if it makes it more interesting. So
I will warn you that over the weekend I did have some classic, below south of the border beers, Corona. I was having Corona, and I added salt to it, and when I added the salt, beer foamed over, and I lost a lot of volume from beer reacting to the salt. So maybe the beer salt is engineered so that it's not going to cause that sort of reaction. I was just using table salt. But yeah, that's something to be mindful of.
I did read an article, and I didn't put it in the run of show for today, but about one of the things that salt is good for. If your beer is on the lower carbonation side, it does apparently bring out a lot of carbonation, which is something I didn't know about. So it makes sense that if you're going to salt a beer, you need to maybe drink it down a bit so you're prepared for what's going to happen. So that is a good warning. So
it's like the Mentos challenge for Diet Coke, except it's salt for a beer.
Salt for a beer, yeah. You put it in, lime, and then actually, when you put the lime in Corona, it does the same thing. That's why you put your thumb on it. You turn it up, invert it, you hold your thumb there. And my trick was always like move the thumb to the side and let it, off gas some of that into your mouth so you don't lose any of the beer. That's a pro tip from a guy who's been drinking Corona for entirely too long. I don't do it so much anymore, but that was my big club move back in the day, if you can believe me going out to clubs.
Who knew we'd learn all the tips from Brian Hewitt today?
So I'm going to throw you under the bus now. Speaking of cocktails, I know you're always working on some new cocktail. What have you been working on? You got a new cocktail for us to talk about this week?
Yeah. So actually, I have something that I'm quite proud of. I, on a random weekday afternoon, had an idea to do something with gin and watermelon. And so I made a watermelon shrub, which a shrub is just whole fruit, sugar, and vinegar. So I went to the store and grabbed some champagne vinegar and made myself a watermelon shrub. And then I did gin, lemon juice, the watermelon shrub, and topped it with Prosecco. It's this real light, effervescent watermelon gin fizz. But actually, the tying factor to it with a dropper, this is how specific it has to be. Dropper, I had 1 drop of a cucumber aloe liqueur that just really mellows out some of the bitter notes, like the harsh notes that the vinegar can exhibit from the shrub. And I've had really high compliments so far from it.
Cucumber aloe, like aloe vera?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
And it smells like aloe, but when you tasted it, you get a lot more of the cucumber on it.
I didn't realize that until like really recently. I think my wife drinks aloe vera juice or something like that, or has, I think. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that was a thing you could drink. I thought that was something you put on like burns. Like, so I guess.
Yeah. So aloe vera is definitely like a cooling ointment a typical ointment that you can do to alleviate some of the heat and pain from like a skin burn. But yeah, aloe as a beverage, there's health claims that I don't know what they are offhand, but yeah, there's definitely some health claimed benefits of drinking an aloe beverage.
Yeah, I think I imagine it's like guava. I know that people used to talk about drinking guava juice to settle your stomach or whatever, and I imagine it's a bit like that. Ginger, I guess, does the same. Mm-hmm. Though I've always thought it was weird that ginger is supposed to settle stomachs or help with digestion is more accurate, because ginger always seemed spicy to me. Like it seemed like if it was going to do anything, it was going to exacerbate whatever was going on in your system. But I like ginger. I've always been amused by that. I thought that didn't seem like it worked out the way people thought it did, but apparently I'm wrong. So,
well, back in the day when I was managing a liquor store, the store owner's wife told me a home remedy that she used to alleviate a sore throat, and that was to take raw ginger juice and mix in a little bit of honey, and then you take that, you don't eat or drink anything for 15 minutes, and honestly, that's been the cure of any lingering cough that I have after a cold. honestly for like the last decade. It's been really cool. So yeah, ginger.
Really?
I don't know about ginger settling a stomach, but ginger definitely helping with a sore throat for me has been a good fix.
Now, a big thing that we used to do at the studio, and I still have some of it here. If I'm ever having issues, cold or sinus infection, that sort of thing, and I have to get on mic, the ginger drink, and I think it was called Kiwi, or it's some bright green packaging, but yeah, I think it's just crystallized honey and ginger together. Maybe some lemon in there too, but it's pretty aggressive about opening up all the airways and getting your vocal cords right. So it's good, and I'm gonna have to remember that because it seems like I don't get sick very often, but when I do, I always have that stupid lingering cough. It just keeps going, and you're like, man, when is this gonna end? You're like, I need to get over it already. And yeah, I'll have to give that a shot. So there we go. This is not medical advice, by the way. This is Beer
No,
Guys.
we're not doctors.
Yeah, but if you got a cough, maybe if you got some ginger around. Maybe you try it, maybe you don't. I know. But anyway, let's move this right along. I think we should get into the beers of the week. Nate, what are you drinking this week?
So, in true double up, double down fashion, I've got two beers on my beers of the week in my glass right now from Break Brewing out of Nashville. We early on were trying to figure out the correct pronunciation of this, but we landed on Damachi Pivo, which is a dry hopped lager. It's really nice. Not It's really nice. It's got a little bit of that hopped bitterness to it, but being a lager, it's really light and refreshing. And then on deck from WeldWerks, I've got their extra juicy bits with El Dorado, and that is their double New England IPA.
And surprise, that's with El Dorado. Did we decide that Damacy or Damachi Pivo? I think that just means house beer in Czech. I think I ran it through the translator, which I didn't realize that. Maybe I should have. Maybe it's embarrassing that I didn't know this, but Pivo is just beer. I've seen that used a lot, and it just never occurred to me to actually look it up and find out what it means. So,
well, it's like Firestone Walker with their Pivo pills.
Yeah, exactly.
It's their beer pilsner.
Beer pills, yeah.
Or pilsner beer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that works. So for me, amongst the other reasons it's a special week, this is the first week I have been able to drink Sierra Nevada Summerfest. So I pregame with some of that. That is a German Pilsner. I look forward to it every year. I already have a, partially consumed case of it, and I'm pretty happy about that. So I had that. Quite nice. Very, do recommend it if you're looking for something light and refreshing to enjoy this week. Check it out, or this weekend, I should say. Up now, I am drinking Beer Zombies Zombie Duck Hunter, and I think I do get these beers because the name is the can art and the name is amusing. It's always enjoyable to look at. But so far, I've enjoyed I think it's always been IPAs I get from them. I've enjoyed all the IPAs. This is a West Coast IPA with Mosaic, Talus, Simcoe, Idaho 7, and Citra. And it's just a winner, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I do like seeing the return of West Coast IPAs. It's not 100% clear, but it is clearer than most things these days that are called West Coast IPAs.
Yeah, it's
For some
really
reason,
nice.
They're hazy still.
It's really nice seeing more and more West Coast releases. I actually considered pulling a double West Coast IPA for one of my beers of the week this week, but WeldWerks won out. But in a little bit of a heads up on this, but we will be going to a West Coast IPA beer festival next month, and that's just one of those things that it's cool seeing trends come back. So we saw the Crispy Boys coming back with a lager trend, and then to go back away from the hazy and the New England style and going back to the West Coast style. It's nice seeing it, things coming full circle.
And I'm wondering if this beer just has a little bit of chill haze, which used to be a flaw that people would fret about with IPAs. But now it's like, oh, hey, that's haze. That's haze. You want that. Keep that. So
we're going to have to learn that phrase all over again.
Yeah, exactly. How you can drop things clear and all that sort of thing. And so coming up later, probably the after show, the after party with the Patreon folks, I'm going to get into Other Half's Whiz, which WHIZ, which is a double dry hop New England IPA with oats, wheat, and a blend of Citra, Strata, Eldorado, Cashmere, and Citra Cryo hops. So that's great. I like everything Other Half does, and I love that we're getting them in this area. I'm like they're from New York and they're making it all the way down here to Georgia, so that's cool. And I will say that I do not have a Bapple this week. I have looked, and I believe Mo Mike Nate has mentioned he's also looked. Not seriously.
Yeah.
I looked at a local grocery store and did see that they had Busch Light, but not Bapple. So I was going to get some, but maybe the next time. I'm not going out of my way. The release notice about it says it should be around all summer, but it's limited. I figure sooner or later I'm going to get some. I'm going to try it, and we'll have a full report when that happens. Maybe next week. Who knows? So, yep, that's where we are with that. So you didn't. Are you going to go out? Are you going to make a special mission to go out and get some Bapple, Mo Mike Nate?
I'm going to try. Like I said earlier, I had looked at a local grocery store, but it was unfruitful. So, no pun intended. So I'm gonna look for it again.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. You know what? This is not the week for it anyway, because it just in time for drinking season. It happens to be American Craft Beer Week, and Bapple is not officially craft beer. So, yes, Monday, May 12th in the past at this point, through Sunday the 18th is American Craft Beer Week, the annual celebration of craft beer hosted by the Brewers Association. And according to their statistics, 9,976 craft breweries were in operation in 2024, and they employed 197,000 people. So that's a lot of people, plus probably all the brewery cats and dogs. They don't get paid, so they don't count, but we love them all the same. As a result of the growth of the industry over the years, especially the past decade or so, most Americans live within 10 miles of a craft brewery. In addition to kicking off beer season, which is what American Craft Beer Week is all about, beer season is the time of year when people are more likely to go enjoy a beer at outdoor gatherings and events, that sort of thing. So American Craft Beer is about appreciating the passion and skill behind craft beer, exploring new and interesting beers, and supporting your local breweries and businesses, and socializing with other fans of craft beer, because we're all looking for a good occasion to come hang out and enjoy some beer together. So it's a social activity. Drinking craft beer by yourself, the beer tastes fine, but it's not as good if you're not with some other people to enjoy it. So it's basically a good time for a good cause, which is such a craft beer thing. So good times, good causes. Anyway, we'll move right along. American Craft Beer Week. Make sure you go out and get some. Are you going to any breweries this weekend, Mo Mike Nate? Do you have any plans for specific ones?
Yeah, I'll likely go to a brewery. This weekend I'll be out of town, or this Saturday I'll be out of town. But yeah, definitely Sunday I will going to go out to a brewery that I haven't been to in a while, and support local.
I think going out of town is the best time to go to hit a brewery. That is my favorite thing to do when I am out of town, is go find a brewery in that area that is local to that area, especially those that I'm not going to likely ever see here in the Atlanta area, because that's fun. I mean, that's fun. I like doing that because I like our local breweries, but I'm familiar with a lot of their beers. This is exciting. It's new. It's different. Like, what's their take on things? What are they? How are they naming their beers? What's the I guess the folklore behind whatever's going on with the brewery. So that's a good time. But you know what? If you're busy, at least do it on Sunday. That'll be good.
Yeah. What about you, Brian? Are you going to go support your local brewery for
Yes.
American Craft Beer Week? Of course. Yeah.
Definitely. When Iron Hill used to be opened, just like basically right next door to where I live, it was like an easy thing. It's like, sure, why not? I'm like, it's half the time I'd stop by there anyway on the way home, but unfortunately that location closed. So, oh yeah, Zach West wants to go to Halfway Crooks for their Czech beer days. I also do. I don't know when that's happening. I wonder if that's happening right now. But yes, that would be a really great place to go. I'm gonna go somewhere. If nowhere else, I might swing by our buddies over at Contrast, just down the way from where I'm at right now. Easy place to swing in, really laid back area. It's laid back environment in a fun area, like that little downtown area is fun for them. But I guess that's only relevant to people who live in the Atlanta area. But if you come into town and swing by Contrast over in Chamblee, it's fun. It's a fun little neighborhood. Anyway, we'll move things right along. We've got some interesting teaser news about Bourbon County for this year. Basically, it's good news for anybody who thinks. Now, what do you think? I think we've talked about this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Big stouts. Historically, a big stout with those big pastry stouts, the big barrel aged stuff, 750s, 22s.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you like them in that format, or do you? I think people they've been moving down in like to cans and other things lately. What do you prefer? Would you rather have a big bottle of a big stout or a smaller bottle or can of a big stout?
If I'm drinking for one, aka I'm drinking by myself, I usually prefer a smaller package size. The nice thing about the 750, the nice thing about the 16.9 ounce or the 22 is that when I share, I get more in my glass. If I'm sharing a 12 ounce bottle, then I'm only going to get 6 ounces of my glass if it's between two people. If I have a 750, which is roughly 25 ounces, I'm going to get full pour, 12-ish ounces for me. So, hot take. I think we should be doing big pastry stouts in the mini kegs, so that you can get your little keg pour of draft pastry, big boy, big boozy. Honestly, think about a little Black Tuesday in a small little 5-liter keg.
So I noticed you said when you're drinking for one, you prefer the smaller packaging. So when you're pregnant, you prefer the larger format bottles and or kegs. Okay,
yes,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I really wish there were more occasions for sharing of large format beers, and part of that's on me just not making out to whatever events are happening. I've gotten invitations to go out places, and I don't know.
It's easy to be a homebody, Brian.
Yeah. COVID trained me so well. I'm like, you don't need to leave the house ever. It's like, okay, let's not. Yeah. I like the concept of the large format though, because I think that beer in larger formats, larger volume ages better than beer in smaller volumes. And I do have a history of hanging on to beer for entirely too long. So it's probably going to age better that way. I do have a little variant stout bottle that I keep meaning to open and I haven't. And I'm like, it's probably 8 ounces. Adorable. Love it. Think it's great. I probably should get into it because I'm concerned it's going to, age too quickly or poorly or something like that. And that'll be on me, but I like the concept. So anyway, this is all getting around to the 16.9 ounces of Bourbon County brand stout. They're changing that. This year, Bourbon County Stout will be packaged in 4-packs of 10-ounce bottles. Nothing about the beer is changing in terms of the recipe or anything else. According to Goose Island, this is a quote, the new format reflects a shift in occasion, ideal for side-by-side tastings with the rest of the lineup or simply enjoying on its own. So they're hearing us and they're saying, hey, you want to be able to drink this, but also enjoy a few other things or just buy yourself. So that's what this is for. So the other yet to be announced Bourbon County variants will still be packaged in the familiar 16.9 ounce bottles. So those special releases, they're not going to change at all.
Okay.
Other than the changes that happen every year with those. Once again, this year, the release will, of course, be on Black Friday, which is November 28th. Nothing's changing there. It's just a packaging change. But while I said I do enjoy the idea of bigger stouts in smaller packages, the pessimist in me wonders if this is just a clever way to hide a price increase, because you change the packaging size, you're going to change the pricing, and you might be able to hide a little bit of an upward shift in the price.
Might be a little shrinkflation in action.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that you see it all the time in the Owsley grocery store. It's an interesting move going from 16.9 to 4-pack 10-ounce bottles, because I can't think of any 10-ounce bottles. Yeah, granted, it's a special release and it's a once-a-year release, but I can't think of any 10-ounce formats packages available on the market currently. I will say though, I do appreciate that they're sticking with bottles instead of going to cans, because sometimes you see those stout releases flip away from bottles and go into cans.
Right now, I think that there's a lot of factors discouraging people going to
Yeah,
cans. I'm like, nobody wants to. If you're already using bottles, I'm like, you know what? The cans are a little hot right now. It's a hot topic, and they're a little spendy right now. They're getting a little bit more expensive, so maybe switch back over. Speaking of cans, it was interesting. I didn't pull the full article because I don't know, it seemed, I don't know, a little skewed, but the perspective, like Ball Corp, who makes all of the cans, I think they're a quarterly earnings thing. They were pushing. He made a call during it for all brewers to lower their prices to do greater volume because that's worked really well for other drink things out there. I'm like, of course you'd say that. That's not how a lot of breweries are staying afloat right now. Premiumization is actually keeping some breweries alive, and like lowering your prices and trying to sell more does not seem to be a thing that wins right now in craft beer. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe that would win, but that seems so biased. I'm like, yeah, we want you to buy more of our cans. I'm like, of course you do. This isn't good advice. This is so biased. I'm like, anyway, and that's why I didn't actually bring the article into the show, but I am going to mention it because I have snarky things to say about it. So there is that. We are where we're at. I think it's time for me to give a little shout out to our sponsor. So, yes, Truck and Tap. I often look to the weather for inspiration on what beers to recommend for my Truck and Tap beer picks, but the weather lately has oscillated between warm and sunny, but not blazingly hot, to cool, dark, and rainy, and it just can't seem to make up its mind. This weekend, it's supposed to be both again, I think, based on what I saw. Probably not at the same time, but you never know with Atlanta. It can do mysterious things with the weather. I've seen it rain here and be weirdly dark in some parts of the sky and also sunny. So that does happen, but you never know. So my beer picks are going to do the same kind of thing, not make up their mind and oscillate back and forth. So at Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with 2025's Coffee LSD from Second Shift. Don't worry, the LSD stands for Liquid Spiritual Delight, not the infamous mind-altering substance. But I bet you would start to see things if you had too many of these 11.5 Imperial coffee stouts. Anyway, I can't pass up a good coffee stout, and this one is said to be chewy, roasty, and spiritually delightful, so I'm in. And this is ideal for the portion of the weekend where it's going to be possibly rainy and overcast. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Evil Twins. This deli needs a bigger double kiwi lime coconut muffin lassi. And yes, I'm picking it for the name, and no, I don't plan on repeating the name. Okay, I will. This deli needs a bigger double kiwi lime coconut muffin lassi. I did it twice without messing it up. I feel accomplished at this point in time. But anyway, a fruited kettle sour with kiwi, lime, and coconut sounds great. When the weather swings back to warm and sunny, make sure you order this one quickly because it may not last. And I mean both the beer and the weather this weekend. So at Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Perennial's Vanilla Bean Abraxas. We're back to the dark and rainy side with this pastry stout featuring vanilla beans, ancho chili, cacao, and cinnamon. Honestly, seeing this beer makes me want to root for the rain and the dark weather at this point. So, speaking of beer, get a little sip of it there. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Stillfire's Coastal Crush Mimosa. It's a fruited kettle sour featuring passion fruit, orange, and guava. Yes, that spells a pog sour. It's a little sunshine for your glass whenever the weather is great, or for, times that you're just dreaming about the weather being great, because you might be doing that this weekend. And there you have it. Those are my bipolar beer picks for the week. Of course, you can find beers other than stouts and kettle sours on tap at Truck and Tap. They've got lagers. They've got IPAs, double IPAs. Probably have some saisons and maybe honestly, some ESBs and some ambers. They got everything.
Truck and Tap's been an OG supporter of Big Guys Radio. We've been hand in hand with them since their day one and our day one. So
basically,
thank you, Truck and Tap, for being a steadfast supporter of Beer Guys Radio and all that you do to support us.
Yep. Check out truckandtap.com and what Mo Mike Nate said. Thank you for your support. So let's get back into it. I don't even know. Where did we leave off here? So,
Brian, yes. I heard that curiosity killed the cat. So what happens when curiosity saves the cat?
That's a very interesting question you ask. It turns out I have I have an outcome for you. So this is an interesting story. A cat named Leia survived 3 weeks, trapped over 3 weeks, in fact. I'm not going to sell this short at all. Trapped under floorboards in a house in the UK. She went missing on April 11th when she apparently crawled into the flooring just before new floorboards were laid in place. And honestly, when I think about that, I can see that in my mind like it's part of a scene in a movie. This is cool. Anyway, not that part, not the cat getting trapped, but she was only discovered after the renovations were completed on May 4th, when her cries were no longer drowned out by the construction noise and the radio. Every construction site's got a radio. They always do. And May 4th is interesting. The cat's name is Leia.
Mhm.
May 4th is also known as Star Wars Day, and the cat is named after Princess Leia. Anyway, while the cat was missing, the family paid a pet detective, and this is crazy, but pet detectives exist. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought it was just a funny movie, but they paid the pet detective £1,000 to find her. I guess the pet detective didn't find her because I'm pretty sure the construction workers found her when they heard her crying. So her owner believes she probably survived, and this is where it all pays off. Survived the 23 days that she was stuck by drinking beer from an open beer can that was found there with her. They also suspect she probably ate a few bugs too to go with that beer, and maybe drank a little bit of condensation off of some pipes, but it was probably the beer. I'm believing it's all the beer, really. So now the cat is home and in good health, about 2 pounds lighter. Great diet plan for your cat, I guess. Don't do this to your cat. A little traumatized by the whole thing too, but yeah, in good health. They've had the cat checked out. Unfortunately, we don't know what brand of beer is credited with saving the cat's life, but the story does mention a French lager. I'm not sure which one it might be, but I kind of want to know. I really do. And like I want to say, whatever the name is, the cat saver or something like that.
No,
like the
they
fresh
should
maker. That's the cat saver.
they should absolutely capitalize this in their local marketing on selling more pints and saying that we bring life. Our beer sustains sustain a cat for so long or whatever.
This is the kind of thing where, somewhere like 50, 100 years down the road, like people, like, why do people always put an open can of beer under their floorboards when they're building a house? Like, what's the deal with that? And it all comes back to this story about a cat, being saved by a beer under the floorboards. Yeah, I could see that happening, but yeah, a fun story. Staying over on that side of the pond, I've got a cool story about a Spanish startup, and they've got an interesting idea about how to grow hops indoors. They use a vertical grid system to grow hops, and the startup is called Econoke, something like that. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, but yeah. So it's a vertical grid system to grow hops. They use LED lights to grow the plants, which makes sense. That's the way to do it these days. And they have the conditions set up to mimic the conditions of growing hops in August, late August, in fact. The aim of the project is to provide an alternative to traditional outdoor hop farming, which kind of makes sense. That's had a rough go of it in Europe in the recent years. They've had droughts and various other things going on. Apparently, there's been a 40% decrease in the European hop production last year, and that was due to the unpredictable and unfavorable weather patterns. So hops are getting beat up in Europe. I haven't heard as much about the weather messing with hops here. I've heard about farmers here in North America scaling back what they're growing intentionally just because the demand isn't quite as high as it once was. Anyway, the rising temperatures and droughts that I mentioned in Europe are reducing the yields. So when the hops do grow, there are fewer of the cones, and the quality of the alpha acids are lower, and that's critical to making good beer. I know the big beer producers, I think they key more in on the alpha acids than the beta acids, but yeah, there's less of them. The hops are dried out; they're not as healthy. So because it's indoors, you are not limited by the normal growing season, which makes sense. The startup's 1,200 square meter plot or pilot farm, so I guess it's a plot, in Spain harvested its first crop in mid-February. So harvesting hops in February, that's great. They have reduced the hop growth cycle to 3 months compared with the typical 6-month period. which you have it basically once a year in traditional farming. And their hops contain more alpha acids per kilogram than normal field grown hops. I'm not sure by how much, but it is they had them officially measured, and it is higher. AB InBev is already on board and participating in the startup's accelerator program, which I think is an investment thing. I'm not 100% sure, but after the pilot phase is complete, they plan to expand to a 12,000 square meter industrial facility and be fully operational by the end of 2025, the end of this year, basically. So I think the big question that I saw that was discussed with this is cool, but are they going to be able to do this at the scale that's necessary to support like a more like larger breweries and more international customers? And like they are doing vertical. So I think that they've got a lot more potential for what they can grow. But I'm not sure by how much. But with ideal conditions, and they're able to turn it over every 3 months with hydroponics and perfect lighting and perfect weather. It might be surprising what they can churn out of a very small bit of square footage or square meterage.
Did the article mention how much yield they had after their first poll? Because they're talking about it was a 3-month growing cycle and a 1,200 meter facility, and this new facility is a 12,000 square meter facility. So that's 10 times larger. So depending on how much of a yield they got in 3 months, and a traditional poll is every 6 months, so you're quadrupling the amount of times you can harvest, and then you are times 10 timesing the square meterage that you have, this growing space that you have available. Not to mention, if it's taller, I'm sure that you can even, on the z-axis, you can even get taller vertical growing space. And so, yeah, if you're with climate change and with rising temperatures and drought and the reduction of alpha acids in hops grown conventionally, I'm interested in seeing how this could reshape up growth over in Europe.
I think this is going to be critical. I mean, they're having some real issues. We've seen a little bit of this. I think it was Wild Leap here in Georgia used, I want to say the hops were grown in a hydroponic facility in Alabama somewhere, which was interesting. And I believe Wild Leap made some beer with it, which I had. It was good. I really like the idea. I'm not sure if they're still doing it here in the US so much because we don't have quite the same level of need, but Europe is struggling with their output of hops. And I think this would be good. I think this would be really good for them. I do want to say that in the article, they stress, the startup stress, we're not trying to be competition for the farmers. So we don't want to put them out of business either, but they want to help supply the additional, like the gap of what's being lost. So I think we still want like the legitimate, properly grown out in the field, all the terroir and all the conditions that come with the season, because you have beers that you want to taste like the place and the time. So I think the hops would be being grown properly outdoors like they are. I think that would be key to that. But I think that when you have AB InBev involved, they're not really as concerned about the idiosyncrasies of different hops from one season to the next or whatever. They are very much looking at those alpha acids, I think, and looking for exactly how much bitterness do we need, and can we get a very efficient crop that delivers what we need and possibly costs us less. And this is going to, I would think that this is going to be very efficient in terms of energy and water use as well, because it's a controlled system. So I like this idea. I hope there's more of it. I do not want to see the farmers go away. I want them to continue growing the fun stuff that they're growing, especially the very interesting, I'm sure wild and interesting, unique varieties there may be out there that people might be growing. So I want them to continue doing that as well.
Well, yeah.
So this is cool.
So AB InBev stepping in is really interesting, because I would imagine that a larger beer production corporation is more concerned about consistency than they are about the unique terroir of a regionally grown hop harvest or whatever. So them being interested in an artificial environment where you can simulate the humidity, you can simulate the sunlight, you can simulate every minute nuanced detail or whatever, that will give them a consistent hop harvest of, we want an alpha acid within this range. And in a factory farm setting, like what this startup is, you could achieve that reasonably, because you got to think too, when it comes to seafood, farm fish generally don't exhibit as much diversity of flavor, because they're within a holding pen and they have food fed to them, and they're not getting as much uh they're not traveling as much, so they're not getting into different kinds of water, um, different environments and whatnot. So hops grown in a controlled environment, a corporation being interested in it means that they're going to have a more consistent hop addition to their beverages, and it makes perfect sense. And so I think this would really be able to backfill a need that potentially, with the challenges that hop farmers are experiencing in Europe, that this startup is going to be able to satisfy that for companies like AB and Bev.
That is a good point. You do run the risk of, while it's a very efficient crop, it's going to be very homogenized because it's very controlled, and the outcomes are expected to be very, very much similar. So yes, that would make sense. A large company like AB and Bev would be on board with that. So good point. Good point. Speaking of things that are talking about the environment and pollution and things like that affecting hops, so the beer has a PFAS problem. So we've heard a lot about microplastics lately. That's a thing that people keep talking about. I saw a video the other day where somebody randomly brought it up. So it's reached that point in society or in the culture where it just is a topic of conversation. But yeah, well, there's also apparently a problem, and they're studying it with PFAS contamination. So what is PFAS? And I think I'm saying that properly. It's an acronym, and I don't have the full spelling out of it, but it's basically synthetic compounds they're used in things like nonstick coatings, firefighting foam, and industrial processes. They're commonly called forever chemicals because they don't easily break down in the environment, and they can accumulate in human bodies over time. Exposure to these PFAS, it has been linked to cancer and reproductive harm and immune system disruption. The most common kinds found in beer have been linked to, firefighting foam and industrial runoff. So some interesting stuff that gets into it. And so RTI International study, they found that municipal drinking water is the primary source of PFAS contamination in beer. So it's not the beer, and it's not the ingredients in beer other than the water. And they're getting it from their municipal water system because their water systems in some places are contaminated. So beer near known PFAS contamination sites, and they specifically called out North Carolina. I don't know why. I love North Carolina, but apparently they've got, I don't know if it's a firefighting issue or an industrial waste issue, or if there's something else that happened somewhere in North Carolina, but apparently that area had higher concentrations of PFAS. And I don't like hearing that, to be honest with you. But beers brewed in these places with the higher concentrations were 15 times more likely to contain PFAS. That said, these compounds were detected in nearly all beer samples they tested. Approximately 18% of U.S. breweries are in zip codes with detectable PFAS levels in municipal water. Some of the beers tested exceeded the EPA's maximum contaminant limits for PFAS, which is a little concerning, but it's only some of the beers. International beers generally had lower PFAS levels, but some of them still showed detectable contamination, which suggests this isn't just a U.S. issue. This is a global issue. So what can we do about it? That's the question. You hear that and like, what are you going to do about it? So yeah, what I read, craft brewers are advised to test their brewing water for PFAS and reassess their water sources if necessary and possible. So if you can deal with your water in a different way, maybe it's a good idea to do it if you're finding the levels are higher than you would like them to be. Ideally zero, like we'd want zero, but I don't know if anybody can achieve perfection here. Breweries can upgrade their filtration systems to things like activated carbon. I don't know why I said that weird, carbon, anion exchange, anion exchange. I don't know how that one's said, or reverse osmosis systems. Those will all take that out to a good extent. Breweries are also advised to use filtered water for their clean in place CIP processes. So a lot of times breweries will use, and I don't know this 100% of the time, but breweries are going to use filtered water for the beer because they're producing, that's what people drink. But any old water can be their, the clean in place water, so that still could have contaminants, and a little bit of that residue can possibly be left behind. So they recommend you don't do that. You filter that before you use that. So consumers should support the breweries to take steps to keep their beer PFAS free. So if a brewery takes extra steps to ensure that their beer is not going to have forever chemicals in it, I think it's a good idea to buy their beer. Like let's buy their beer. Let's support them when they do this, assuming their beer is good. I'm sure that is, but assuming it's good. Like if they take the extra steps to do this, it may increase the price of their beer a little bit. But do you want to drink safe beer? Yes, go buy that beer. That's what I say.
You want to support the people who care enough to, if there's enough microplastics in the world that we're not really ever going to be purely scrubbing them clean. But the breweries that care to clean up their product enough to present a more streamlined, but like a more cleaner product, like with eliminating as much of the PFAS as they can, of course you should go out, and you would think that you should go out and support them. It's funny, I've mentioned working for a liquor store twice now, but when I was working at a liquor store in 2010 to 2016, I had a customer one time ask me about why are all these craft beers going from bottles to cans, and I was explaining to him some of the practical sides of it, and he just couldn't wrap his mind around it because he was still convinced that beer would taste worse out of a can than out of a bottle. And now this PFAS thing is like, well, maybe it is better for you to enjoy your malt, your fermented malt beverage out of a bottle, so that you don't have to worry. You have to worry less about the microplastics in it.
Yeah, that is a thing. I think a lot of people don't realize it, and I knew there was a coating on the inside of beer cans, but they have things where people do science experiments. They somehow dissolve the outer layer, and you can see there's actually like a plastic sheath on the inside of it. That's why your beer doesn't taste like aluminum or tin, if that even would be a thing, but it doesn't taste like that. But it also does come into contact with plastic. So the bottles, the nice thing about those is that's just glass. And I don't think we have, I don't know of any terrors about microplastics. So, I think that's not a thing.
But like the article said, most of it wasn't really coming from the lining of the can, but it was coming from the water itself. So regardless of the serving vessel that you are enjoying your beer from, granted, drafts, I don't really know if kegs have that as well, but it's still, the microplastics that are present are predominantly coming from the water itself and not necessarily from the can liner or anything attributed to the package.
Now, I will say, I think you might be confusing the PFAS, which are the forever chemicals, with microplastics. They are a different thing. So
yes,
microplastics are coming in a lot of different channels. So that is a different thing. So no, it's worth being concerned about, but this is a different thing. I'm wondering if this is actually the more dangerous thing of the two. I'm not 100% sure, that we don't know yet. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation, and honestly, we're not doctors or scientists. I mean, I do call myself a doctor of intoxicology, but that doesn't carry a lot of weight when it comes to talking about chemicals and molecules and microns and things
honestly,
like that are relevant to this.
We need to get Smalls in here because she's the one that actually deals with chemicals and the more scientific stuff.
She'll just tell us that we're all screwed and then laugh and then go away.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more story before we close out. This is not really beer related, but this is fun, and I did want to ask Mo Mike Nate about this because I think this is going to be unsettling for him, and things that make him unsettled make me happy. So anyway, yeah, in a truly bizarre marketing campaign / gimmick, Kraken Rum has a van touring the UK that looks like an ice cream truck, but it serves seafood. They're calling it the truck Sea Scoops, and it's serving a gelato-style scoop of various seafood creations, including smoked mackerel pate with Monster Munch, and I don't know what Monster Munch is, but also cucumber and hot buffalo sauce. They've got a spicy sesame tuna with cured salmon, octopus, and Kraken teriyaki glaze, and something called, and I don't know what this is, terra masalata with king prawn, caviar, and wild garlic oil. So to be clear, these scoops do come in what looks like an ice cream cone. And if you're lucky or unlucky enough to find the Sea Scoops truck, they're giving out free samples of the cones. Legal drinking age adults will be invited to try some Kraken cocktails that are intended to pair well with these seafood scoops. So the picture that I saw in the article with this, it appears that this spicy sesame tuna cone has a giant octopus tentacle sticking off the top of it. It's very cool. It looks like the Edward Scissorhands director. It looks like one of his movies, Nightmare Before Christmas type of thing. If they had ice cream cones in that, it would be like this.
You're talking about Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. There we go. Yes, that was what I was looking for. So, of the 3 cones I discussed, Mike Nate, which one are you ordering?
Can none of them be the option? I know it's not, but honestly, the Terra Masalata sounds like the one that I would be most interested, because I know what pate is, and I definitely don't want that. I've had salmon tartare once, and it was not my favorite. So I'm assuming anything with fish would not be my thing. So king prawn, caviar, and a wild garlic oil. And the cool thing, for those of you that are not aware, Kraken is a spiced rum. They predominantly known for their black spiced rum. So when this thing is talking about a Kraken teriyaki glaze or whatever, think like a spiced rum teriyaki glaze. So it can work. It's an interesting marketing campaign / gimmick. But yeah, your answer, the answer to you, Brian, definitely the Terra Masalata. What of the 3 would you not want? Because let's be honest, you probably want all 3, right?
Do you know what the Terra Masalata thing is? I don't even know what it is.
I've never encountered that word until tonight. So
you know what? Try Googling it real quick if you can. But I think that the one I would have to get is the spicy sesame tuna with the cured salmon, because I believe that's the one with the tentacle. And I'm going to have to get the one that's got the crazy tentacles sticking off the top. But honestly, in terms of flavor, I really thought about the smoked mackerel pate, as I like smoked fish, and mackerel. Mm-hmm. I like mackerel. That's good. And buffalo hot sauce with fish. I'm intrigued by this. I don't know what Monster Munch is, and probably somebody will tell me at some point, but I would just roll the dice on that. Is that like Captain Crunch cereal sprinkled on top of it? I don't know. I would give it a shot. Yeah, I think they all sound good. You know what? I would try all of them a little bit. The nice thing is there are no escargot. There's no escargot in any of it, and that's not even seafood. But I don't know why I brought that up. But I thought about all this stuff, and I'm like, the only thing that would be revolting on a ice cream cone for me would probably be escargot. But I don't like that stuff anyway. So that's I think that probably would be my pick. Did you find out what it was?
So I did. It's similar to a pate. It's Greek. Terra Masalata is actually a Greek dish. It's a meze, which is a small dish served as an appetizer in Eastern Mediterranean cuisine.
Oh, okay.
And it honestly looks like it has the consistency of a pate. So I'm going to change my answer to the spicy tuna, because I'm a big textures. I'm a big limitation on texture, and that just looks absolutely disgusting to me. And
I have a feeling you'll have an issue with the texture in all these, because they are.
That's true.
Tyler, they're all he almost hurled thinking about.
So
I'm glad I can inspire you, Tyler.
You're getting exactly what you wanted with this article. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely revolting. Yeah, I think they're all gelato style, so I think you're probably not going to find you enjoy most of them. But this is so out there, and I love that they're doing this, and that's why we're talking about it. Also, I knew it would irritate Mike Nate. So that's good stuff. But I think that about does it. Do you have anything else for us, Mike Nate, before I close it out?
We're good.
Well, that about wraps it up for our show this week. Thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you had a good time. And if you did have a good time, we hope you'll support us by telling a friend to check out the show, or subscribe if you haven't already. If you really, really enjoy what we're doing here, we'd appreciate your support on Patreon. Just head over to patreon.com/beerguys. There are all kinds of fun perks, including access to our Discord server where we talk about beer and other things all week long. And we do an after party after each show. And for our Patreon folks, we hang out, have some beers, talk a little bit about everything going on. And we love it if you join us. But with that said, we hope you have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.